Hi, everyone. I want to once again thank all of you for staying with us for all 3 days of Sparks. We want to extend our thanks with a small gesture. So, if you have a D2C brand, or an old colleague or a friend has started one, or you just love a certain D2C brand, please drop it in the chat and we'll give you a shout out from our social handles. Please drop the Instagram handle in the chat and we'll be happy to share it and give you a shout out. Again, thanks a lot for joining us. Over to you, Devesh.
Hi, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us for the 3 days. This session is a very exciting one. This session is titled How You Can Do Rupees 1 CR Plus Sale on Marketplaces such as Amazon, Flipkart, etc. And we have on the panel a lot of folks who've been there, done that. Let me invite Gaurav on the panel. Gaurav is Director of Product and General Manager at Razorpay. We also have Aditya on the panel. Aditya is the COO at Giva. And then we have Mohit on the panel. Mohit is the co-founder at BeMinimalist. Over to you, Gaurav. Please do go ahead.
Gaurav, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. No, you're not on mute, but you're not audible.
Yeah, I can't hear you also.
No. Sorry, Gaurav, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I also cannot.
Just give us 1 second, folks. We'll get you started in a bit.
Okay, am I audible now? Okay, cool. Folks, firstly, very warm welcome to all of you, and especially to our speakers, Aditya and Mohit. I have a personal brand story with both these brands that actually go back quite a lot, but that's for another time. But these brands are very, very close to my heart, and to all of us here at Razorpay, and I'm sure in all the audiences as well. You folks have really crafted out that niche for yourself, that specific identity for yourself that anyone can immediately recognize as a category creator as well. And yeah, I think it's a festive season. This is the event that helps other brands get to the same sort of rigor and levels that you folks have achieved for your businesses, and we'd love to hear about how to tackle the whole festive sale frenzy. I call it a frenzy because on the other side, from a marketplace point of view, I've seen it for over 5 years, and I know how much it can get taxing for brands as well as for these platforms. So let's dive right into it. And before we sort of start talking about the festive elements of this, I'd just generally like to understand your sale pattern between marketplaces and D2C, and you could feel free to just abstract the D2C online and offline together into D2C. But what does marketplace versus the rest of your channels look like? And if I could ask you, Aditya, to start.
Sure. So loosely, if I take the offline online channels both together, I think the D2C channel would be about loosely 70%, 65%, and marketplaces would be 30 to 35%.
Got it. How about you, Mohit?
No, so in our case, it is actually opposite. So when we started, our D2C was, of course, the larger channel. But as in when we started adding more channel, because beauty as a category, there are even large number of marketplaces. I know how that is about the category Aditya operate in. So now our D2C would be somewhere around 20%, while marketplaces contribute remaining 70 odd percent, and 10% come from then retail and other operations.
Got it. That's an interesting variance, right? So, out of curiosity and for everyone else's understanding as well, what governs this distribution? Is it just the period of time that you have been operating in the market, or is it more than that? Is it the category, the AOV, the other aspects of your product specifically or your brand specifically?
Mohit, do you want to take or should I?
Yeah, please go on.
Sure. I think, Gaurav, it's a bunch of things. I think to some degree, it's also a function of how new you are to the market. I feel, when you're a newer brand, I feel it's maybe a little bit easier to get noticed on Amazon because you're not spending too much on branding in some sense. What has happened, however, what has happened for us is we've always been bigger on our channel. I mean, right from day one. Part of the reason, obviously, I think, is that we started our channel first. We started marketplaces a little bit late. I think the other extent, it also depends on how much branding you're doing, sort of redirecting to your website versus on marketplaces. For us, our own branding has kind of historically been a bigger spend, and I think the sort of more branding visibility on marketplaces is maybe something we've probably done more in the last couple of years or so. Not sure how it pans out for everyone, but that's been our journey.
How about you, Mohit?
So see, I think we never treated different channel like our channel or a third party channel. We always looked at it more in terms of high level parity. So see, again, in terms of scale, beyond a certain point, scaling D2C become a little challenging and also expensive. And you have to figure out, what is it that you want to change, right? So you are changing in one point in time user behavior in terms of creating a new category. At the same time, you're changing behavior in terms of, say, places where they should buy. I also love a lot of D2C brand, but I still go and buy from the marketplaces for a lot of other reasons, convenience, shipping, deliveries, returns, multiple factors, right?
Yeah.
I think that is what we have seen. So initially, as I said, a lot of interaction customers used to have on our site, on our platform and all. Maybe they may be buying their first product from Minimalist. Gradually they feel that, okay, if I like the product, but I'm more comfortable with maybe buying multiple product on Nykaa, adding one more product rather than tracking my shipment separately. It's convenient, right?
Yeah.
So that way, the split change. But once the business continued to grow, we saw that the D2C also growing at the same pace. The others also growing. We don't see a lot of cannibalization. And I think if your all other factors are very same, that if your pricing are same and all, let people choose the platform which they are more comfortable with, and then focus on the value proposition in terms of product and overall communication.
Yeah, those are some interesting views. I think there is a bit of category, the stage of the company that you are, and generally, what's your conscious call? Where can you connect better with your category and your customers?
So initially, of course, you think D2C makes so much sense because your feedback loop is much faster. While on marketplaces, of course, you don't have a lot of information. But I think once your TMS is established, then just look at these channels as distribution.
Awesome. So moving on, right? The flavor of the season is, of course, festive sales. This is obviously we have like 3-4 such spurts throughout the year in India, and this obviously turns out to be the largest one. What does this specific festive season contribute to your business as a percentage? Roughly speaking.
So if I take it in a slightly different way, so firstly, by festivals, I mean, there are two ways of looking at festivals. You can look at the marketplace specific festivals like a Great India Sale or a Big Billion Sale, or you can look at festivals that are festivals for the brand. Like for us, for instance, something like a Great India Sale or Big Billion Day, for instance, would maybe be in the range of 20% higher than BAU. But festivals which we see as our festivals, which is maybe a Raksha Bandhan, a Valentine's, Christmas, Diwali, these are much higher peaks for us. So these would typically contribute anywhere between 40% to 60% higher than BAU. Sometimes a little bit more also. So it's not exactly in sync with what festivals are for marketplaces.
Got it. How about you, Mohit? Very different category, monthly purchase category, if I may.
So I think we see slightly bigger jump during the phase of, when I say OND. So again, initially the numbers used to go up as high as maybe 100% or more. Now with scale, we still expect a growth of maybe 50% or slightly more than that. So that has been the case so far. And again, given the category you operate in, it may be different for everyone. So, you have to see the relevancy. I think the brands operating in, say, makeup and a lot of those other categories which are very relevant for the festive season, they might see a maybe much bigger jump versus the other one. So while the overall traffic increases, the numbers for every category will vary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just from my previous experience, this number looks very different from for electronic categories. For example, I think they see like a 200-300% jump during these times, because that's where the offers are the largest, because of the AOV being the larger one, and also generally people tend to wait out their bigger purchases in India, right? So I think that behavior is also pretty prevalent.
I think for us also, because we are our positioning is very heavy on the gifting end. So festivals which the Indian customer sees as a gifting festival, those naturally become very big events for us. So as you correctly said, right, on marketplaces mostly their festivals highly correlate with hardlines, so electronics and so on.
Yeah.
For us, it's more the festival driven.
Yeah, but I definitely did miss out on the other festive season that you just came from and entering into another one. Thanks for pointing that out, Aditya.
There's always next time.
So we have a small poll at this point. We would love to understand from the other brands that are joining this as to how much share of business that they see from festive season. So Devesh, if you could just push that poll. Okay, it's live now. Well, I'm seeing some really interesting numbers come up on my screen. Okay, 2 more seconds. Yeah, I think majority of folks are saying it's roughly less than 40%, and then I'm sorry, greater than 40% of their sale percentage during festive comes from marketplaces. So I think that's pretty much in line with what we are hearing from you folks. It's a large contributor, right? So that brings me to my next question. A lot of brands here are very new. You folks have been doing this for quite some time. What are some of the key marketplace pushes, notifications, inputs, programs that they should keep an eye on and sort of tune into at the right point of time? And I'll actually try to dig a little deeper into those questions. But both if you could take lead on this one and help us get started on what those timelines are to begin with.
So, see, I think if you'll talk to the category team, probably 2 months earlier, they will tell you all the programs. The marketplaces usually plan around that time. So, in general, I think they continue to operate say plans like co-op and so. But even during festive season, there are different packages for that. Same for the marketing. So while you may be using DSPs and some of those, but your specific targeting goes away, and then you have CPM based targetings, and you can take certain category pages and see right what is more sense or not. But usually, I think in terms of planning, we start planning it 2 months earlier, so that we are able to freeze our marketing plan, and I guess more importantly, we are able to understand what are the inventory needs. So that is like the most critical piece of it, right? I mean, you don't know the out of stock, and if you're an MFN, it won't work, right? So even FBA is really really important. And as I said, given some of the category grow like really fast, like electronics and all, they also handle a lot of load, a lot of volume. Getting appointment at the last minute also become challenging.
True.
Right? So I think one advice from my side would be that understand the inventory part pretty well. And even in those cases where you can't predict certain SKU because of maybe high SKUs or maybe a lot of volatilities and everything, right? Rather than MFN, try and operate as a seller flex, because seller flex again shows FBA, and they work little differently compared to fulfillment by merchant, right? But I guess that is basically more like a hygiene. And second part of that would be then again understanding the marketing budget, because if you expect the growth will be like 30%, 50%, 100%, you need to plan that thing accordingly so that you're able to leverage it better. But yeah, I think largely these are the things that we look at from the marketing and the logistic part. Anything other that you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think Mohit has pretty much hit the nail on the head. From a marketing perspective, it's a 360 effort, whether it's your typical SP, SPs, SDs, whether it's DSP, whether it's co-op marketing. So all of these have to be done. As he correctly said, right, you have to sort of ensure you're in touch with your POCs who help you plan the event a lot better. For us, inventory plays a very major role because we launch a lot of festival specific SKUs. So Raksha Bandhan, for instance, we would launch Rakhis, we would launch gift set for sisters. We would, Valentine's as well. The motifs that are in focus are a little bit different than what our usual inventory would be. So the inventory effort for us maybe even starts more than 2 months ago, because we have to ensure we source the inventory. And then again, as Mohit said, we have to ensure that we replicate inventory in multiple warehouses across the country. It's very interesting because if you have inventory replication in multiple places, if you have shorter delivery times, if you have the prime tag, FB, all of these things, you naturally just organically rank higher in the marketplace algorithm, and it has a very big impact on your conversion. So I think all points that Mohit said, pretty much the same applies to us. A couple of other things I'll say is these are maybe long-term things and not something you can do just prior to the sale. One is, I think it's very important that you focus on your reviews. It's a through the year thing, but especially for us, we have more than 2,000 SKUs, so it's sometimes a little difficult to monitor what your reviews ratings are across SKUs. So that's a significant effort for us to try to make sure that the ratings and reviews are good. We ensure there are no pricing errors, there are no products going not only out of stock, but if a product is not listed because of any technical reasons, a pricing error and so on, we ensure those things don't happen. And bestsellers, super important that we keep all the bestsellers in stock. So yeah, pretty much what Mohit said, much in line with that.
Yeah, I'd like to actually, go a little, peel the onion a little bit, so to say. There are a couple of aspects here which not everyone's going to have similar access to as you folks. Right? For example, you mentioned Mohit, you should reach out to your category manager. Category managers are going to be busy at around this time, right? How do you sort of what are the other ways in which you can tune into the whole festive program, be it identifying what kind of programs are running, what kind of properties are available to sort of market over, and more specifically, right? I mean, is there any special programs running to drive the delivery, for example, as you mentioned, you got to drive your fulfillment geographically well in advance. So how does a new brand sort of latch into these queues quickly?
See, again, even in our first year, we also never had a category manager, right, when we started. And I think a lot of basic tools, right, are available for everyone. Like, your warehouse allocations and all those things are same for everyone, right? I mean, if you're able to honestly plan that well in advance, even if you don't have a category manager, able to work through it. If ATS is not working, work with partners like Blue Dart and all, manage your appointment. You'll be able to figure those things out. I think that's not a very complicated science. Second, in terms of your advertisement or marketing, right? I mean, your basic search and all those are available. So, I mean, you divide your customer into 3 segments, like your bottom of the pyramid or middle funnel or top funnel, right? The bottom funnel is always search. And I guess those are available for everyone. DSP and some of those platforms you can use at the latest stages also. But I guess large chunk of business from, I guess, most of the people will be coming from the basic search and those advertisements, right? So you're not missing out on much. And again, I mean, if you're like a very, very early stage, I'll anyways ask you to focus on that because that has a highest ROI. Once you cross a certain scale and you feel, okay, now I want to expand, right? But then anyways, you'll have access to the teams and the people in it, right?
Got it. Aditya, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I mean, again, as Mohit said, I think when you're a relatively bigger brand, you have specific brand spots, and you kind of start having a discussion with them much in advance of the event. As a younger brand, I think the effort more has to be on you. It's really important that you establish good relationship with POCs. You kind of take the what's the right word? You take the impetus of planning, because you might be initially getting a category manager or a SPOC who is responsible for multiple brands. So it's super important that you keep a good relationship. You reach out much in advance. You plan your inventory better. There will be times when they'll ask you to offer discounts in a certain way. I mean, it's a give and take relationship at the end of the day. But I think as a smaller brand, we talked about certain basics like inventory and so on, ratings. The quality of your listing, really important. You keep good images, you keep good content within the listing. If you have A+ content, that really helps. If you also customize the listings as per the event. So like for instance, when we launch, when we're in the Raksha Bandhan season, right? We'll make sure our listing titles also call out that these are great gifts for Rakhi, so that in case some folks are searching, very relevant words pop up. And because we have a lot of inventory, we also make sure that we're bidding on long tail keywords also.
That makes sense. In fact, I would like to go a little deeper on what you just said, Aditya, on discounting, right? You said often your POCs would recommend you a certain way of discounting. I think a lot of brands have asked us this question. How do we approach this? Like, am I going to end up, diluting my brand's image by over discounting? And is the ROI really going to hit home? Right. So how do you strike that balance? And I know it's not an easy question.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a little different for every brand. I mean, I think a basic check you have to keep is you're not losing money on the overall transaction. You can obviously discount so much. For us, a natural filter has also, or a natural, I think, benchmark has also been what we are doing on D2C. So we try to, whatever extent possible, we try to maintain a price parity between the D2C channels and between the marketplace channels. Of course, there will be, I mean, loosely 10 out of 12 months or maybe even more, we try to maintain price parity. However, there are certain times if you're running, let's say, lightning deals, or if you're running deal of the days, SKU specific sort of discounts, we do those. The other things we do is we run coupons on some SKUs which maybe do not have the best rating, because it incentivizes us to get more orders and hopefully get more reviews, which kind of turn the overall review in our favor. But no, for us, a natural filter there has been what are we doing on the D2C channel. Even during events where marketplaces expect us to give a slightly higher discount, it's not significantly different from what we offer on our channels. Maybe there'll be a 5% or so, 5% or so discount. So I mean, it's obviously a constant battle. I think when we also got started, the overall discount numbers are a bit bigger. And I think over time it has come down, and I think that will pretty much be the journey for everywhere.
Got it. Anything that you would like to add, Mohit?
So, see, I think you have to see that what is the reason people buy your product, right? And there has to be like multiple hook beyond just a discount. And I think if you look at slightly more bigger iconic brands, say if I know I have to buy a phone and I'm like really passionate about say Apple, I don't buy because they're on discount. I still go and buy that even though there's a huge discount on any other Android phone, right?
Yeah.
So that is one. And I think second is offering discount allow you to be in certain pages like your deal categories and all, which kind of create more visibility and eyeball. But that can start at as low as even 5%, right? And people do expect some offers if, of course, marketplaces are saying that hey, they are indexing offers and all. And if you are always on MRP, and even if you are like 5% off on festival, that is good enough for consumer.
Yeah.
If you're always on say 30%, then I expect at least more on the festival. Then you have to be like maybe 35, 40. So I guess you'll have to see pricing not only from the festive season time, you have to see pricing on a long term, that how you're pricing throughout the year. And don't use that as a only hook, because that is honestly the very lazy hook, and it is like long term replication. So I mean, figure out, I mean, can you create some interesting packages? Can you create something which kind of create interest or excitement for a consumer? They'll be more than happy to buy rather than just offer.
So a couple of things actually I forgot to add. I mean, which help quite a bit. I mean, one is kind of bundling. If you're bundling a couple of products, then if your acquisition costs remain the same, then theoretically you can hire a little bit higher discount. The other thing is, so marketplaces do offer certain rebates on your commissions from time to time, and sometimes this helps you kind of absorb the shock of that extra discount. So for newer brands out there, maybe that's a discussion they can try with their POCs.
Actually, these are some very interesting points, both Mohit and Aditya. I'll take a small sidetrack, and I know this question is actually worth a probably a full day workshop in itself. But how do you nail demand planning for your festive season? I know you both have like teams doing this, and I'm asking you to crunch it down into an answer here. But some 2 or 3 actionable points that brands that are listening to us would put to practical use this season.
Sure. So I think for us, one data point has always been the regional sales number from the D2C channels. So and even from marketplaces themselves, because you have the data for the rest of the year, so you have a reasonable idea of where your customers are, where you're likely to get more orders. The spikes may not always be uniform, but you get a rough idea from this. The second thing is, in case we talk about any regional events, like for instance, Durga Puja, for instance, right? This is a time when you will see a bigger spike in the eastern region than you would in other regions. So keeping these two caps, maybe a region specific cap and a general through the year data cap. I mean, these help us plan out quite a bit. And as I said, having data from the D2C channel itself and from our channel, that's some things we do. It's not always easy because there are certain festivals which we kind of, I'm not going to say we created, but we kind of created categories for those festivals. So Raksha Bandhan, for instance, 3 years ago was not a very big spike for us. And what we've done is we've sort of tried to get relevant inventory, relevant SKUs, got a rough idea from the stocks as well as to where they expect more demand to be, and done our own calculations also, and then kind of made a concoction of it and decided how we want to go ahead. Not easy, but obviously the good thing here is you get better with experience.
Yeah, Mohit, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah. So I think our life is relatively easier compared to Aditya's because we have lesser SKUs. But I think use your data. So unless this is your first year, you will have some experience about how your sale grew last year. Talk to, again, as a category team. They will be able to give you some better benchmark that how much growth they are expecting in your category. And I think lastly, if there is any seasonality factor in your particular category, like in our case, we know OND is also in beginning of winters, which SKUs typically go up in winter compared to your ending your summer and rainy season, right? Factor in those, and I guess you should be good enough. Always look back at your data, and I guess with time, as I said, you get better.
Okay. One interesting question that's come up is, festival sales on large marketplaces typically happen in like 3 or 4 tranches. And how can some younger brands actually get the space to enter in the subsequent ones? Like, is it going to be more cost effective for them to, take the second and third one more seriously than the first one? Or that's a myth?
So sorry, you mean like separate festivals?
From an incentivization, from an ads spends point of view, is the second or the third wave slightly more cost effective especially for younger brands?
So I think for us, as I said, our peaks don't necessarily coincide with the marketplace peaks. So that is something that has helped us. It's a natural outcome of the type of category we are in to some degree, and it's also something that we push to a lot to a certain degree, right? So for instance, if I try to get DSP space or homepage visibility during a Great India sale, it's going to be very difficult because you're up against the real big guns. If your peaks are, if your festivals are a little bit different, I won't say it's easy, but it gets relatively easier to get that visibility. And I think during those events, obviously, marketplace is also looking to find a sponsor, or they're looking to find revenues from marketing activity. So it becomes a little bit easier to get that space. So I think maybe Mohit can answer this a little bit better, but for us, it hasn't been a very big criteria, but it does help if you have a different niche, if you have a different festival or category of festivals you create for yourself, it helps.
So, I mean, if all things are same, usually the first phase of the the event and all always give you better result and outcome, because that's when people also have amount that they are spending in, all right. And eventually in second and third, if I've already purchased certain product, my probability of buying certain more in the same category may be even lower. But however, what you can do is you can look closely at when the festival is starting, when the event is starting. So example, say the first wave is starting, say maybe in like mid of October. Second one is starting maybe like early or first week of November or so, right?
Yeah.
Most people will be getting maybe their salaries around that time. They will have again the buying capacity and all. Even if you're not able to optimize on the first, you can still do it in second. But I guess rather than 1 or 2 or so, you should always look at your ROI by and large. Try and optimize that rather than the cycles.
Got it.
So we look at those numbers on a hourly, daily basis.
Yeah.
Define a specific budget that, hey, if I'm spending say 20% on marketing, try and see how your apps optimize, on which product you're spending what amount, how you're able to manage that particular cost, how you're able to bring it down, how you're able to use organic traffic and all, and just go with the flow.
Got it. I have a barrage of questions, Nilanjana. Do we have time for one more?
We don't actually. Unfortunately, we are towards the end of our time.
Cool. No worries. I'd like to, just very quickly summarize what we just discussed, right? If I have to put it in 5 points, do the hygiene right. Make sure your listing quality is top notch, and you have tuned into what your POCs or your account managers on the marketplaces are telling you. That's one. Make sure you distribute inventory appropriately with your planning into the various fulfillment centers, and of course spend right. Don't over discount, but do appropriately. And if you're getting good insights from sessions like these or from your account category managers, then please do put them to good use. I think there are some great insights, Mohit and Aditya. Thank you so much for taking out the time, and it's personally been a huge learning for me. And what I'm listening in the chat here is everyone's learned a lot. Would have loved to extend this, but probably another time.
Yes. Thank you so much, guys.
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Mohit. Thanks, Gaurav. Thanks,
Thank
Nilanjana.
you. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. Thank you, everyone. We're right on time. So moving on to some insane insights from this one. But if you still don't think you're ready to take on the giants, you will be with our next session coming right up. Let's dive into that. So I'll see you guys in 2 minutes over to the next session. Thank you, folks.
Bye, folks. Thank you, Aditya and Mohit, once again.